Out in the hallway, the detective apologizes for the disturbance as Jin thinks that several years have passed since he got lost in the dimensional crack and he's glad to meet him again, but if he shows him that, he'll probably note Jinwoo's strangeness. Chul thinks that something is different and questions how a student could have such a look in his eyes. Reaching in his pocket, he asks Jin if anything comes to mind when he sees the drawing of a shadow ant, and Jin affirms. Detective Chul asks what the monster is and who Jin is before apologizing for getting a little too excited since he's been chasing information on this for a while. However, Jin only presumes this is a monster that appears in those dramas that kids watch, which embarrasses the detective. Thanking him for his time, Jin asks if that's all, and Chul affirms, saying he already explained the situation to the teacher, so there won't be any problems. Jin says that this is a memorable talk and asks if he could keep the monster drawing, and Beru joins, telling his king not to cast his eyes upon the lousy half-assed scribble. Chul gives Jin the drawing and walks away. Igris asks why he didn't tell him, and Jin explains that oblivion is said to be a blessing that gods have given to mankind, even if it was a result made by man using a god's tool. Back in the class, girls ask what that was, and Jin nervously says that he's someone he knows and had some personal questions. The girls continue rambling when the bully suddenly pushes them out of the way, presuming Jin is now some kind of big shot. He asks if fooling around like this would be considered school violence and if he'll report this to the detective. He also questions if Jin wants to fight and tells him to relax his expression as the bully's talking nicely. Suddenly getting grabbed up, Choi asks the bullies what business they have with their lovely track and field ace. They ask why the seniors are here, and Choi answers that they're there to keep their ace from beating the 4 idiots to death. Laughing, he tells Jin they came because he forgot to tell him that there's a welcoming party for newcomers and invites them to it. He asks Choi and Gushik where they're bringing the bullies to, as they speed down the hall, wondering if they should go for some light running. Later that day, Choi asks if he wants them to resolve things with the bullies properly, but Jin dismisses it, promising to not let it affect the competition. Suddenly being called, Chul asks if he can have some time to finish what they talked about earlier. He stops, as Choi tells him not to come late, as they'll be holding Young-gil hostage until he comes to the welcoming party. A walk later, Jin says that he won't be able to stay for long because his friend's life is on the line. He asks what he wants to talk about, and Chul calls him Hunter Sung Jinwoo. This side story continues.